9 things that don't make sense after 70. You know, when you're younger, they always tell you that everything makes sense when you get older. They say you'll gain wisdom, have all the answers, and finally understand the meaning of life. Well, here's the truth. Some things just don't make sense, no matter how old you are. Pause for a moment, especially when you hit 70. It's funny, right? At 70, life is full of surprises. There are things that once seemed so logical and clear, but now they just leave you scratching your head. You'd think by now, with all the years of experience, the world would feel like a well-oiled machine. But instead, some things become even more perplexing, more confusing, and maybe even a little frustrating. So, in today's video, we're diving into 10 things that really don't make sense after 70. And trust me, they might just make you laugh, think, or maybe even nod along in agreement. Let's get started. Number 1, time isn't what it used to be. As you get older, something strange happens to your sense of time. It's as if time itself has decided to play tricks on you, constantly shifting its pace, leaving you wondering if you're living in a time warp. When you're younger, time seems to stretch on forever. A single summer day feels like an eternity, and a year feels like an age. But after 70, it feels like the opposite. Days seem to fly by in the blink of an eye, yet when you look back, decades have passed. It's almost like you're caught in a whirlwind of activity, appointments, meals, walks, maybe a bit of TV, and before you know it, the day is over. One moment you're sitting down with your morning coffee, and the next, it's already time for bed. The hours just slip away, as if they were never really yours to control in the first place. But here's the real kicker. While your days seem to fly by, the years, oh, they drag. It's as if each year becomes longer than the one before. The days blur into a single moment, but when you try to reflect on the last decade, you realize just how much has changed and how much you've lived through. You look back at your life, and it feels like just yesterday that you were in your 50s. It doesn't feel possible that decades have gone by, yet here you are, looking at your reflection and wondering where all the years have gone. It's a paradox. The days seem to go by faster than ever, but the years, well, they've piled up. Remember when you could count down the days until summer break or your next big holiday? Now it's almost as if there are no longer enough special events to mark time. Every year seems to blur into the next. But even though time feels like it's running away from you, the moments you've lived are still there, tucked away in your memories, just as vivid as they were all those years ago. Number 2, the need for technology. Let's talk about technology. If you've ever tried to keep up with the latest gadgets, apps, and devices after turning 70, you probably know exactly what I mean when I say it can feel like stepping into a completely different world. It's as if someone dropped you into a high-tech universe where everything is moving at warp speed and you're just trying to catch up. Smartphones, tablets, social media. These were things you could live without for most of your life. And now, they've become practically impossible to avoid. Everyone's on them. You see your kids or grandkids swiping through apps at lightning speed, sending messages with emojis, and sharing pictures in an instant. And you're just sitting there wondering, what happened to the good old days when you actually talked to people? Learning to use new technology often feels unnecessary when you've already lived through decades without it. You've managed to get by without the need for every new app or gadget that hits the market. You've survived without a smartphone glued to your hand. So when someone suggests that you really should get on social media or learn how to send a text message with a picture, it feels almost like a waste of time. And don't even get me started on autocorrect. One minute you're typing out a quick message, and the next, it's corrected your perfectly fine sentence into something completely ridiculous. How did we go from writing letters by hand and taking our time to compose thoughtful sentences to this? You've lived through a time when everything was more deliberate, more thought out. And now everything is rushed and automated. Emails. Remember when they seemed so revolutionary? Now they've become just another daily chore. You used to send a letter, wait for a response, and then reply with a little more thought. Now your inbox is flooded with a constant stream of messages you have to sift through. But the worst part? You can't seem to make sense of the reply all button, the CC, or the BCC, let alone the fact that every email somehow looks like it was written by someone in a hurry. And let's not forget about voice assistants. At first, you might have thought they were just a gimmick. Siri, play my favorite song. But soon enough, you're asking Alexa to turn off the lights, set reminders, and even order groceries. But when the voice assistant gets it wrong, again, you're left thinking, what's the point of this if it can't even understand me? The funny part is, even though these gadgets and apps are meant to make life easier, they often end up creating more confusion. The more you try to embrace technology, the more you realize that the simplicity of life without it was something truly special. Sure, technology can be useful, and yes, it can help you stay connected with friends and family. But there's a certain charm in remembering a time when communication wasn't instant, when life wasn't dictated by screens, and when it didn't feel like you had to be constantly plugged into the digital world. So, while the world around you moves forward with all its technological advances, sometimes it's nice to take a step back and appreciate the simplicity of how things once were. Number 3, age isn't just a number. There's a saying we've all heard, age is just a number. It's a nice thought, isn't it? A way of telling ourselves that we can still do anything no matter how old we get. But the reality? It's not entirely true. When you hit 70, you start to realize that age is in fact something more than just a number. It's a very real part of who you are. Sure, the mind may feel sharp and your spirit may remain as adventurous as it ever was, but your body? Well, that's a different story. There's no denying that age comes with physical changes, some subtle, some not so much. You begin to feel those little aches and pains that you once shrugged off. The back that wasn't an issue in your 30s, now it needs more care. Those knees that used to carry you up hills without a second thought, they might protest a little now. It's strange, isn't it? How you can feel young inside, yet your body starts sending you little reminders that it's been around for a while. You might wake up with stiff joints or realize that standing for too long isn't as easy as it once was. Exercise becomes something you have to adjust for. Walking the same distance you used to could now leave you winded, and your body asks for more stretching or recovery time than it ever did before. And it's not just about aches and pains. Your body reacts differently to things like food, exercise, and even the weather. Things that didn't used to bother you, like eating a large meal late at night, suddenly have you feeling bloated or sluggish the next day. That jog you used to do without a second thought, now it might feel more like a marathon. And don't even get started on the weather. Cold weather, you feel it more. The sun, it's stronger somehow, and you need to protect your skin with a new level of care. But it's not just the way your body feels, it's the way others treat you too. It's subtle, but as you get older, you start to notice how people's perceptions of you change. You may no longer be the one people turn to for physical work, and sometimes you'll catch a glance of concern in someone's eyes when you mention something like walking a mile or climbing a set of stairs. It's the kind of thing that reminds you, whether you like it or not, that age isn't just a number. But here's the interesting part. These changes come with a new appreciation for the things that are most precious. Activities that were once mundane, like sitting in the sun with a good book or taking a slow walk through the park, now feel more rewarding than ever. The ability to sit with a loved one in peaceful silence, or to simply watch the world pass by without a rush, that's something that age teaches you to savor. You start realizing that those little things you took for granted earlier in life are now more precious. You may not be able to do everything you did when you were younger, but what you can do now carries a deeper sense of meaning. That's the paradox of aging. It may slow you down, but it also makes every moment feel richer and more valuable. Number 4, the value of comfort over style. When you're in your 20s or 30s, you might have prided yourself on being fashionable. You kept up with trends and you always had to look just right. It didn't matter if those high heels made your feet ache or if those tight jeans were a struggle to sit in. Style was everything. But when you hit 70, something changes. Suddenly, comfort isn't just a luxury, it becomes a necessity. Fashion trends? They start to seem a little ridiculous. Who really cares about the latest styles when you can't even remember how long you've had that sweater in your closet? The desire to look trendy fades, and what starts to matter is what feels good on your body. You start realizing that comfort trumps style every time. After all, what's the point of looking great if you're in pain, right? Let's talk about clothing. Soft fabrics become your best friend. You can no longer tolerate scratchy wool or fabrics that don't breathe. You find yourself reaching for the comfy cotton shirts, the stretchable pants, and anything that allows you to move freely. The tighter, more restrictive clothes from your past just don't make the cut anymore. You want to feel relaxed, comfortable, and at ease in whatever you wear. And shoes? Oh, shoes are a big deal. Gone are the days of squeezing into heels that give you blisters after an hour. Now, it's all about orthopedic shoes and slippers that keep your feet cozy while giving you the support you need. A good pair of shoes is a game changer. It doesn't matter if they're not the latest fashion. If they keep your feet pain-free, they're the ones you'll wear every day. You might even find yourself reaching for jeans that actually fit right, rather than the trendy pair that looks good in the store but is uncomfortable by the end of the day. It's about feeling good in your clothes, not worrying about whether they're on the cutting edge of fashion. And let's face it, after 70, you've earned the right to prioritize comfort over style. Who's judging you anyway? At the end of the day, your clothing choices reflect your values, and what could be more important than your well-being? When you realize the value of comfort over style, you stop chasing trends and start choosing clothes that feel like a warm hug for your body. Number 5, the evolution of friends and relationships. As you get older, relationships evolve in ways you may not expect. At first, it seems like the people in your life are all the same. Your friends, your family, the people you've known for decades. But after 70, you start to notice that things change. Relationships become both simpler and more complicated at the same time. When you're younger, relationships are often about quantity. You build a wide circle of friends, acquaintances, and colleagues. You spend time with people because it's easy and convenient, and you don't always have to think deeply about who they are or how they impact your life. But as you age, you begin to realize that you no longer have the energy or time for the superficial relationships that used to fill your social calendar. Instead, relationships become more about quality. The surprising truth about friendship after 70 is that the number of people you spend time with tends to shrink. It's not that you're shutting people out, it's that you start to care less about having a crowded social calendar and more about having meaningful connections. You become choosier about who you want to spend time with. You begin to recognize that your time is precious and it's better spent with those who truly enrich your life. Some of the people you thought would always be there may not be anymore. Life has a funny way of moving people in and out of your circle, sometimes due to distance, sometimes due to health, and sometimes because of the simple fact that you've outgrown certain relationships. Friends you've known for years may drift away, not necessarily because of any falling out, but because your interests and priorities have changed. And of course, there's the reality of loss. The sad truth is that as we age, we inevitably lose people we care about. But here's the interesting part. As you notice fewer people in your life, you also begin to develop deeper, more meaningful connections with those who remain. The friends you have now may have been by your side for decades, but after 70, the relationship takes on a new level of intimacy. You talk more openly, share your experiences with more depth, and lean on each other in ways that are more fulfilling. You begin to appreciate the people who really understand you, the ones who offer comfort in silence or can finish your sentences because they've seen you through all the stages of life. Your relationships aren't about the numbers anymore. They're about the richness of the connection, the shared memories, and the deep bonds that only grow stronger with time. Number 6, health becomes a full-time job. When you were younger, you probably took your health for granted. You could eat whatever you wanted, stay up late, and brush off a cold with a little rest. But after 70, health becomes something you think about constantly, both mentally and physically. It's no longer just a background concern. It becomes a central part of your life, and often it feels like a full-time job. Managing your health is no longer just about the occasional doctor's visit or staying active. It becomes a daily routine of tracking medications, scheduling appointments, and making sure everything is in order. At this stage, it's easy to find yourself buried under a stack of prescriptions, a calendar full of medical checkups, and a never-ending list of things to monitor. You might have a medication organizer with each day of the week separated out, each pill serving as a reminder that health requires constant attention. Doctor's appointments, once an occasional nuisance, are now a regular part of your life. You've learned the names of every specialist you need to see, and you've probably spent more time in waiting rooms than you ever imagined. Health insurance becomes another puzzle to navigate, and you may find yourself reading through policy details more closely than you ever did before. The complexities of coverage, copays, and prescriptions can take up more mental space than you ever anticipated. But it's not just about managing medical conditions. Staying healthy after 70 requires discipline and vigilance. It's no longer just about getting a little exercise here and there or grabbing a salad for lunch. Now you have routines, exercise routines that target mobility, flexibility, and strength, diets that take into account your cholesterol, blood pressure, and any other number of health factors, and an entire system of self-care that keeps you feeling your best. Staying healthy takes effort, and it often feels like a daily job. You may have to commit to a set of exercises every morning, stretching and strengthening muscles you never thought twice about before. You might have a diet that's more restrictive than you'd like, but you know that it's important for maintaining your well-being. It might mean avoiding certain foods, keeping track of your salt intake, or paying attention to how your body reacts to different nutrients. But here's the thing. Even though health feels like a full-time job, it's one that you can't afford to neglect. As you get older, you realize that every effort to stay healthy, whether it's remembering your medications or committing to your daily walk, pays off. It's about preserving your quality of life so that you can keep enjoying the moments that matter most. Health may have become a job, but it's a job worth doing, and it's a job that in many ways allows you to continue doing the things you love for as long as possible. Number 7, the confusion of modern world values. As you age, it's natural to notice how the world around you changes, but after 70, the speed at which the world moves, especially in terms of values, trends, and cultural priorities, can feel downright bewildering. The values that the younger generations hold dear often seem completely out of step with the simpler, slower-paced ideals you grew up with. And honestly, it's hard to keep up with what seems important to them. Take social media, for example. For many young people, curating the perfect online presence, building a personal brand, and constantly managing how they're perceived by others has become almost a full-time job in itself. They spend hours crafting posts, perfecting photos, and trying to build followers. You, on the other hand, may find yourself thinking, what happened to just being yourself? The pressure to brand your life, to filter every moment through the lens of a smartphone, can feel foreign and unnecessary. Then there's the emphasis on instant gratification. Whether it's a quick text message, an on-demand movie, or fast food, the younger generation is used to getting what they want, when they want it. But you know how long it used to take to actually get something meaningful. You remember waiting for a letter to arrive in the mail, patiently waiting for a phone call, or spending hours on something that didn't promise instant results, but was rewarding in the end. There's something to be said for that slower, more deliberate pace, but it feels like it's slowly fading away in favor of speed and convenience. Trends like minimalism or extreme sustainability are also tough to wrap your head around. When you were younger, the goal was often to have more things, more experiences, more achievements. Now, it seems like the younger generation is focused on having less, owning fewer things, and living with extreme environmental awareness. While the spirit of minimalism and sustainability is admirable, it can also feel alienating, especially when you've spent a lifetime acquiring things, building memories, and taking pride in what you have. And let's not even get into how today's fast-paced world can feel disconnected from the simpler values of the past. The hustle culture, the constant need to grind and work harder, push faster, achieve more, it doesn't resonate with you. After 70, you know that life isn't a race, and you start questioning why the younger generation is so obsessed with running faster and further. YOLO, you only live once, seems like a slogan that encourages reckless behavior, but you've learned through experience that living well doesn't mean living fast. Similarly, the hustle culture that promotes non-stop work feels pointless to you. You've seen enough of life to know that the pursuit of endless success, recognition, or wealth doesn't necessarily lead to fulfillment. In fact, many times it's the opposite. You begin to wonder, why are they working so hard to achieve things that don't seem to matter in the end? You've learned to value patience over speed, connection over material success, and peace over chaos. While the world around you continues to race forward, you find comfort in the values that have stood the test of time. Values that are more about living with intention and appreciating what truly matters, not what's trending. Number 8, you start to question, what's the point? It's almost inevitable. After 70, you begin to ask yourself some of life's biggest questions. What's the point? It's not that you're giving up on life or feeling hopeless, but rather that you're beginning to reassess what really matters to you. The things that once seemed so important, career success, material wealth, the pursuit of more, start to feel hollow. As you age, your perspective shifts. You start to realize that the frantic chase for success you once thought was essential isn't what defines you anymore. What's the real meaning of happiness? What does success really look like at this stage of life? And, perhaps most importantly, what role does wealth play in your happiness now? Happiness, you begin to realize, doesn't have to be about reaching the next milestone or accumulating more possessions. It's not about climbing a corporate ladder or impressing others with your accomplishments. Happiness becomes about moments, small, quiet moments that bring you joy. A cup of coffee in the morning, the sound of laughter with friends or family, the peace of sitting in your favorite chair watching the sunset. These are the things that, at 70, you come to value far more than anything you could have worked toward in your youth. Success? It no longer feels like it's measured by the size of your paycheck or the awards on your wall. Success now is found in the quality of your relationships, the depth of your experiences, and the peace you've cultivated in your heart. You might reflect on the work you've done over your lifetime and realize that the true successes were never the promotions or accolades. It was the impact you had on others, the lessons you taught, and the love you shared. Wealth, too, takes on a new meaning. After 70, you realize that money isn't the ultimate goal. Sure, it's nice to have enough to live comfortably, but it no longer holds the same allure. You begin to see that wealth isn't just about financial security. It's about the richness of your experiences and relationships. It's the time you've spent living authentically and appreciating the simple joys. At this stage, the search for fulfillment isn't about achieving more or acquiring more. It's about finding peace, slowing down, and savoring the moments that truly matter. You start questioning, what's the point of striving for success if it doesn't bring true contentment? The pursuit of peace, joy, and connection becomes the new definition of success. You learn that life doesn't need to be an endless quest for bigger, better, and more. Instead, it's about enjoying the journey, embracing who you are, and finding meaning in the simple pleasures of life. Number 9, the desire for solitude over socializing. As you age, it's almost as if the need for social interaction starts to fade, replaced by a deeper appreciation for solitude. When you were younger, you likely thrived on socializing, attending parties, gatherings, and meeting new people. There was a rush in being surrounded by friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. But after 70, you begin to notice a shift. The desire for solitude often outweighs the need to constantly engage with others. It's not that you dislike people or don't enjoy companionship anymore. It's that you begin to find so much peace and fulfillment in quiet, solitary activities that socializing starts to feel like a burden rather than a pleasure. Things like reading a book, working in the garden, or just sitting quietly with your thoughts become more rewarding than any social event. It's in these moments of solitude that you feel most connected to yourself and to the world around you. Solitude brings clarity in ways that socializing never could. When you spend time alone, you have the space to reflect, think deeply, and gain perspective on your life and the world. It's in the quiet moments that your mind has room to breathe, to wander, and to process the complexities of your experiences. Social interactions, on the other hand, can sometimes leave you feeling scattered, drained, or overstimulated. The older you get, the more you embrace silence. You find that peace doesn't need to be filled with noise or activity. You don't need to be constantly entertained or engaged in conversation. There's something profoundly satisfying about simply being alone with your thoughts, enjoying the stillness that surrounds you. This shift from extroversion to introversion is natural, and it's one that many people embrace with open arms. For example, you may find yourself preferring a quiet evening at home, curled up with a book or watching a favorite show, rather than attending a loud, bustling party. The joy of peaceful solitude becomes undeniable. You start to realize that there's no need to constantly fill your calendar with events or obligations. Instead, the beauty of being alone with yourself, in your own space, becomes a luxury you've come to treasure. Solitude doesn't mean loneliness. It means taking time for yourself, nurturing your own well-being, and finding fulfillment in your own company. In fact, as you get older, solitude may be the greatest gift you can give yourself. Conclusion: embracing life's oddities after 70. As we reach the milestone of 70, life becomes a series of oddities. Things that don't make sense, things that you might not have anticipated, but things that are part of the wonderful journey of aging. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that aging should be about figuring everything out, solving the mysteries of life, or making perfect sense of every experience. But the truth is, life after 70 isn't about finding all the answers. It's about embracing the uncertainty, the messiness, and the joy of just being here. The things that don't make sense, whether it's the speed at which time passes, the rapid advancement of technology, the value of relationships, or even your shifting desires, are all part of the rich tapestry of life. They're the reflections of a life lived with intention, love, and wisdom. And they show us that there is beauty in the confusion, beauty in not knowing, and beauty in simply accepting the way things are. You see, aging doesn't have to be a time of loss or frustration. It can be a time of growth, of finding deeper meaning, and of embracing life with a sense of humor, curiosity, and grace. Just because things don't make sense doesn't mean they're wrong. In fact, it often means you've reached a stage in life where you can step back, take a breath, and appreciate the absurdity of it all. And so the best thing you can do is embrace it all. Every odd moment, every twist in the journey. Celebrate the things that make you laugh, the things that make you scratch your head, and the things that make you pause and reflect. Because that's the beauty of aging. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real, being open, and being present in a way you never could have been when you were younger. If you're over 70, I'd love to hear what things started to not make sense to you as you got older. If you're younger, I hope this gives you some perspective on what lies ahead. Please leave your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to connect with you and learn from your journey. And don't forget to subscribe for more relatable content on aging, health, and the wisdom that comes with the years. We're all on this journey together, and there's so much more to share. Remember, getting older doesn't mean losing touch with the world. It simply means that we see the world from a different angle. The view may have changed, but the beauty is still there. Keep embracing the oddities, the mysteries, and the moments of peace that come with aging. After all, the best is yet to come. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.